So we were discussing about the terminologies, or I was just saying one thing, like whatever the subject that you are dealing with, you should be aware of the terminologies of that particular subject, right? Okay. So there is one thing I always used to say, an engineer is the only person who knows the difference between hardness and toughness. An engineer is the only person who knows the difference between hardness and toughness. No one else knows the difference. Like majority of the population does not know the difference between these two terms and use it interchangeably. But I believe you all know the difference between the hardness and toughness, right? If not, just search it down right now. Like it could be a sin if you are an engineer, you don't know the difference between these two terms, right? Okay. So there is one term, like a term which we used to take a lot many times, which you would be hearing, you will be reading about that term a lot many times in the motorsports domain. That is a corner. Yes, and when we talk about the races, corner is the fun. Corner is the real adventure of a race. Anyone. Like it would be very easy to actually time. It's not just about anyone. There would be some dynamics involved with that too. It would be very easy for most of us to drive a vehicle on a straight patch. But what about the high-speed corners? Right? This is the real adventure of a racing car. So now let's go with this term cornering. This is off the track. Like this has got no relation with what we were discussing earlier. But I just want to keep up your what I could say your interest in the videos. I'm just talking about this thing in this webinar series or something. Okay, cornering. What do you mean by cornering? Very often when we drive our car or when we ride our bicycle or bike, we used to say take a corner. Sorry, we used to say take a turn. We, as the average human, a normal human who is not aware of the motorsports words, we used to say take a turn. Now, when you see any racing car, if you see any race, the commentator used to say they have taken a corner. They don't say the vehicle turned, they say the vehicle cornered. So, what is the difference between a corner and a turn? Yes, this is a very important terminology. What is the difference between a corner and a turn? So whenever our passenger vehicles or whenever I am driving my car in the city or I am riding my bike or bicycle in the city, we used to take the turn. We do not corner. Though the turn is a subset of corner. Turn is a subset of corner. Corner means whenever you change the direction of the vehicle. Whenever you change the direction of the vehicle, if this is my vehicle, and suddenly the direction of my vehicle changed. The direction of my vehicle changed. From moving into this direction, my vehicle direction changed. The instantaneous velocity of my vehicle is in this direction. The projected velocity was in this direction. Right? Now, this turn could be because of the yawing effect that I have provided, the steering input that I have provided, or the steering input that I have provided could be because of any disturbance, maybe any of the bump or droop come at one of the side, maybe the bump come at the outer wheel or maybe the droop come at the inner wheel and my vehicle turned unconsciously, which I didn't know, right? Irregularities in the road surface, or maybe suddenly I applied the brake and I provided the steering input to the left side but my vehicle turned to the right side. Drifting. Right? It could be any possible thing, like a corner. Corner means the change in direction of the vehicle along a corner. Like I am moving straight and suddenly the road blocks, I have to take this turn. This is the direction now. I am moving straight and now this is the direction. This is the direction. This is the corner for everyone. Now most of the vehicles, what they used to do, okay, here comes, they will move like this. When all the four wheels are perfectly sticked to the ground. Maybe at low velocity, the passengers inside the vehicle will not even notice the change in direction. At the low velocity, maybe the passengers seated inside the vehicle will not even notice the change in direction. Or maybe at high velocity, they can feel the inertial pull-off generated in their body. They can feel it. But for a race car, they don't want all the four wheels to be sticked to the ground. They don't want all the four wheels to be sticked on the ground while taking a corner. Whenever I am driving a racing car, what matters to me? A very minute fraction of second, or a fraction of second matters to me. Or in the typical races of Formula 1, typical races like Formula 1, right? A minute 0.01 second matters a lot to them. At that time, we don't want all the four wheels stick to the ground while taking a corner or while taking this turn. What we say in general, while taking this turn. Why? When all the four wheels are stuck to the ground, there would be a power loss in one of the tire, and there would be higher power in the other tire. This can create an excessive friction in the vehicle, or maybe because of the differential, the equal power has been distributed to both the tire, the right and the left tire. Maybe the power is going to be distributed. So at that time, what we want all the power to be given to one of the tire, and the other tire in which the power has not been supplied should not create any friction. So at that condition, it should have to either lift up. In all the drift races, what do we want? We want that tire to drift, to provide the excessive skidding on the ground. While in the Formula 1 races, we want the jacking in which one of the tire lifts up. Okay, jacking is a term in which whenever you take a corner, one of the wheel stays on the ground, the other wheel lifts up. One of the wheels stays on the ground, the other wheel lifts up. The wheel which does not have the power lifts up. Got my point? Okay. Initially, the rear outer wheel used to lift, the inner wheel gets all the power. Now, in the drifting, the instantaneous velocity and the projected velocity of the vehicle are completely different, and because of the braking, the inertial pull-off creates the drifting in the vehicle, in which all the wheels stay on ground. All the four wheels stay on ground. Or maybe two of the wheels jack up. But the only condition for the drifting is I provide a steering input in one direction. My vehicle moves in the exactly opposite direction because of the inertial pull. I provided a steering input to the left direction. But what happened? Because of the inertial pull, my vehicle is sliding. That sliding is known as drifting. I provided a steering input to the left direction, but my vehicle is drifted away because of the inertial pull. Drifted away to the exactly opposite direction of my steering input. My tires are turning left, but my vehicle is moving right. This is known as drifting. Drifting along with the jacking can also happen. Maybe all the four wheels stay on the ground, and then also you can get the drifting. Jacking is basically whenever you are providing the steering input, your vehicle turns exactly in the same direction, but wheels used to lift up. Two of the wheels, the front inner wheel, the rear outer wheel, used to lift up. This is known as jacking. That is known as drifting. Now in the drifting, you are changing the direction. In the jacking, you are changing the direction. And in the proper turning, because of the differential, all the four wheels stay on ground and you take the proper turn. One of the wheels is having lesser power, the other of the wheel is having higher power. And you are taking a very proper turn. Got my point? You are taking a very proper corner. Now when all the four wheels stay on ground and the inertial pull-off on the bodies of the driver and the bodies of the passenger that are being seated is less, we can call it the turn. The perfect turn, when all the four wheels can see the change in direction. We can call it a turn. And turn is a subset of corner. Turn is a subset of corner. Okay? Now see. Corner involves turning, which you know what is turning, and all the four wheels stay on ground. Jacking, drifting, or sometimes I have made this one new category known as pivoting, in which one wheel stay on ground and other rotates around it. Pivoting, right? Corner involves turning, jacking, drifting, or if you want to consider this point too, pivoting. while turning is only a subset of a corner. So whenever you raise your vehicle, you actually jack. When you have seen these wagon carts, the person who used to pull the vegetables and everything on a wagon cart, with the four wheels, right? You can see whenever they have to take a turn, what they used to lift their vehicle up. This lifting of the vehicle is actually known as jacking. Here, in this case, he is providing that lifting effort. In this case, in the case of wagon cart moving with a very low velocity, he has provided that lifting, lifting movement, lifting force. While in many of the vehicles, in most of the race cars, this is known as jacking effect and occurs in the vehicle because of the virtual geometry of the steering and suspension mechanism. It happens because of the virtual geometry of the steering and suspension mechanism. Yesterday we have discussed all these sub-assemblies, all the subcomponents, all the sub-departments of the vehicle have got a very heavy and a very good relationship between each other, which we have to identify in this series of webinar. In this series of webinar, I'm not just going to talk about the analytical approach or the geometrical approach. I will also talk about the establishment of the relationship between all the different sub-assemblies, which is very crucial and very important for you guys to understand. Okay, now let's do this. Whew. You got this thing, right? Now we were discussing about the chassis frame design. We have got something off topic so that at least we can generate or we can keep up with your interest in this webinar series. We will be discussing some more facts, some more very good things while we were discussing some crucial factors too. Okay, so what are the factors that decide the primary outline of a chassis frame? Now you know the relationship between the mathematics and the physical principle, the center of location and the center of gravity location. Now, what are the other factors, the crucial factors, the factors that you have studied in the books, which you were doing till now, that decides the dimensions of a chassis frame structure? Before moving on to this, let me clearly differentiate between the frame and the chassis. What do you mean by chassis and what do you mean by frame? Almost all the teams, almost all the students, almost all the people use these terms interchangeably, which is absolutely wrong. I told you, terminology of the subject that you are dealing with is very important. We have to set some standards for the things which we are working, right? For which we are actually working. We have got the keen interest in. So what is the relationship or what is the difference between a frame and a chassis? I know most of you already know about this thing. But then also I want to explain this thing for the amateurs who are watching this video or who are watching this, who have joined us in this series of webinar. What do you mean by frame? If this is my body and I take my body, Abhishank, Jain, is synonymous to a vehicle that you have designed, or the purchase vehicle, right? Abhishank Jain is synonymous to the vehicle that you have designed. Now, which part of me is going to be known as frame and which part of me is going to be known as chassis? Which part of me is going to be known as frame and which part of me is going to be known as chassis? Now, anything that mounts my basic body, my structure, my hands, you can see my hands, my head, you can see my head, my neck, my chest, my body, this complete structure, anything that has provided the basic outline to my structure, right? Anything that has provided the basic outline to my structure. Or if you can X-ray, if you go with the X-ray, the things that you will find, my skeleton, which has defined the structure of my body, anything that has defined the structure of the body under study, or in our case, this is the vehicle. Anything that defines the structure of the vehicle is known as frame, or you can call it the chassis frame, not the chassis frame, or just the frame. My skeleton is known as the frame of my body, or the frame of the vehicle that you have purchased, right? Now, if I have to make it operational, then I will install a heart, I will install the brain, I will install the muscles, the veins, the arteries, the lungs, the kidneys, and everything, that I would be able to perform my basic operations. I would be able to perform all the operations for which a human has been made, so that I would be able to perform all the operations. Now, running very fast could be a feature, right? If I would be working for an IT industry, that would be a feature. Huh? Or if I would be working for a production company, that would be a feature. Thermal company, that could be a feature of my body, right? That could be a feature of a human being. Whatever he does is a feature. But just to pump the blood, give him a life, is known as chassis. So when you were born, some people are born bald. Some people, everyone is born bald. But when you grow up, you can find some of the people are bald. Some of the people have got the long beards. Some people never grows the beard, they never have the beard, right? For some people, their nails are very big, or maybe the growth rate of the nails are very high. For some people, the growth rate of the nails is very small. Some people are born dark in color, some people are born very bright, right? These all things are the feature. All these things are the feature. Whatever you can accompany, whatever you can list it down, right? That distinguishes the different humans are the features. Or everything that is common between me and all the hundred or the thousands of people who are watching this video right now, or maybe watching this video in the future, everything that is common between us is the chassis. I'm not talking about the chassis design, but everything, component that is common. If all those components are assembled together, we will call it a human. Eyes, what is this? Ears, nose, tongue, throat, everything. All these things are known as chassis. My skeleton with the pumping heart is known as chassis frame. Is known as chassis. While my skeleton is the chassis frame structure, is the chassis frame. Now, what are the factors that decide the chassis frame design? What are the factors that decide the frame design? We have already seen one part. In which everything happens because, or what is the chronological order that we have followed in the design process? Is to justify the presence of the centroidal location and the center of gravity location. It is still on now? Record over now? Okay, you got this thing? Right? Okay. Now the factors that decide. If I ask you to design a chassis frame structure, what is the first thing that you will think? Like, if I ask you, what differentiates between a good chassis frame and a bad chassis frame? What differentiates between a good chassis frame and a bad chassis frame? Now, whenever I used to ask this question, what would be the critical features or the critical configurations or the critical properties of a chassis frame structure, people used to say strength. A good chassis should have very high strength. Baba, which strength? Are you talking about the yield strength or the tensile strength or the bending strength? Which strength are you actually talking about? Right? Okay. And they used to say light in weight. That is very good. For a moment I forgot the spelling of light. Light in weight. Okay. Light in weight. But if whatever we are manufacturing, if it's light in weight, we don't want to compromise with the crucial strengths that are involved. We don't want to compromise with the bending strength or the yield strength or the Young modulus of the material that we are using. Right? So now there are few of the things that we have to see. First, the factors, whatever the factors that are involved, we are going to discuss it right now. The elements that are used to manufacture the chassis frame. Elements means if you are using a circular tube, pipe, or if you are using a rectangular tube, if you are using a solid bar, if you are using a hollow pipe, what would be the exact dimension? Not the exact, which dimension is, like if I am using the hollow tube, right? A hollow tube of larger cross section is more desirable, or a hollow tube of a smaller cross section is more desirable. If I consider both are having the same weight, that means the thickness should have to vary, right? What is more desirable? We have to consider all these things, right? So the one thing, elements used to manufacture the chassis frame. First, the material, that is the physical material, the chemical composition, the strength of the material. Then the cross section or the dimension of the material. These two things that we have to consider. First, the elements used to manufacture. In the elements used to manufacture the chassis frame, the material of the element, the properties, basically the properties, physical properties and the chemical composition of the element that we are using. We are not going to talk about the chemical composition right now. In the other videos we will be discussing about the chemical composition too, but right now we are only worried about the physical strengths, the physical properties of the material that we are using, and the cross section, the dimension of the element that we are using. One. The other is the dimension of frame. Dimension of frame. It means its overall length, its overall width, its height, its weight. Or weight is an interim property of the element that we are using. So let's not go with the weight. So only two things that we have to consider: the dimension of the frame and the elements used to manufacture the frame structure. Now, what are the factors that decide the dimension of the frame and the element that we are going to use to manufacture our frame? So, what are those factors? The element, I have also already considered the physical properties and the cross section of the tube or the material, the element that we are using. What are the factors? What are the factors? Now, what could be the factors? What could be the factors? If I talk about the mathematics, mathematics give no shade for the type of material that you are using, but only depends on the dimension of frame. And we have already seen for the dimension of the frame, the only thing that we have to consider is the centroidal location. Okay, I have to refill my marker now. I hope you all are getting whatever we are discussing. Please drop your queries, your doubts in the comment section, right? Or if you want to personally get in touch with me, we can work out few of the things more. There would be some other series on which we will be working. You can get in touch with us on the Facebook page of Achilles Racing Club. Please join this page, fb.com, or write it down, facebook.com/Achilles Racing Club, ACHILLES all together. There is no space between them. Get in touch with us on Achilles Racing Club. We will be solving all your queries, all your doubts. If I was not present, someone else from my team will be handling your doubts, right? Okay, again I will tell, this workshop has been brought to you by Koshi Motors. This is their platform. We are coming live. We are uploading these videos. But if you've got any doubt, you can get onto this Achilles Racing Club page. We will directly get in touch with you all. Now, what are the factors that decide the dimension of the frame and the elements used to manufacture the chassis frame structure? So whenever you are driving a vehicle, you know the definition of the vehicle, you know the purpose of the vehicle, you know the usage of the vehicle, you know the constraints that are available to manufacture the vehicle, right? So now when you know the definition of the vehicle, you know the purpose of the vehicle, you have to drive it over a rough surface. If I talk about the ATV, you have to drive a vehicle over the rough terrain. Maybe the terrain has got 6 feet bumps or 6 feet droops or something. Not the bumps, 6 feet of droops or the jumps. Now, high change in kinetic energy can be witnessed. The change in momentum of the vehicle can be witnessed at each moment. Whenever you are riding a vehicle, you can see all the forces are directly acting upon your chassis frame structure. Now you know the course of the forces. Axial forces, transverse forces. Now we know these axes: lateral axis, longitudinal axis, lateral axis, transverse axis. Whatever the frame of reference you have taken, along that frame of reference, you know what do you mean by axial forces, transverse forces. Now we have to consider these forces that are acting on the cross-section plane, or that are acting along the cross-section plane, or that are acting perpendicular to the cross-section plane. Perpendicular to the cross-section plane. Now there are two models that we have to make for it. All the forces, the factors that affect the dimension and the elements used to manufacture the vehicle are actually the forces and movements. The forces and movements acting on the vehicle. In the static condition, we can say only the bending loads are occurring on a vehicle. Only the bending loads are occurring on the vehicle. Or the vehicle, the chassis frame is being acted upon only by the bending loads. With the static condition, we can say this thing. But what if you start to drive a vehicle? What if you start to drive a vehicle? These bending loads will shift towards the transverse load, or maybe the torsion will start to occur in your vehicle. The torsion will start to occur in the chassis frame structure. Yes, you heard it right. The torsion will start to occur, will start to act on your vehicle. Torsion will start to act on a vehicle. Bending loads in the static condition, torsion. Whenever you accelerate your vehicle, decelerate your vehicle, whenever you take the corner, the torsion loads will act on a vehicle. Now, if this is my vehicle, for a normal reference, I'm just, okay, this is my vehicle moving in this direction. Suddenly I applied the brake. My vehicle will pitch down. Right? What I did, the forces are acting in this direction. This is the movement that has been produced. Along the tire you can see, this is the movement, the braking movement, the braking torque, the braking movement. And what it did, it pitched down my vehicle. While your vehicle was moving in this direction. Or I could say you can feel this inertial pull. This inertial push, in this case this is the push. This inertial push in the vehicle. Right? This will create the excessive, the imbalanced torsion in the vehicle. And whenever you apply the brake, just consider this thing, your vehicle is very light, like very light. And suddenly I applied the brake. I applied the brake. What will happen? Your vehicle has a tendency to tilt. Your vehicle has a tendency to topple. Torsion. Because of the excessive bending, the irregular bending. The compromised bending, the torsion will start to occur in your vehicle. This torsion will also try to twist your vehicle. In this case, we can call it the excessive movement that will try to topple your vehicle. But the torsion will also start to act on a vehicle. We will distinguish this in what do you mean by torsion. For a simple example, as of now, to give you the reference, I could say, this is my shaft. If this is my shaft, my engine is providing it the power. It's moving. Whenever I got a turn, whenever I got a corner, what will happen? My inner wheel, if I have to take this corner, right? This is the inner wheel, this is the outer wheel. Inner wheel, outer wheel. The inner wheel has to cover a distance 2 pi r. The outer wheel has to cover a distance 2 pi r plus t. Right? R plus t. It means the outer wheel should have to turn more, the inner wheel should have to corner more, or should have to cover a larger distance, the inner wheel should have to cover a lesser distance. So what will happen? Either one of the wheel will start to skid on the road surface. It means drift. It means start to skid on the road surface. The rubber of the tire will start to burn off. It means my shaft is moving in this direction. I am just considering a vehicle which doesn't have a differential in it. My shaft is turning in this direction. See, you can see my shaft is turning in this direction. Whenever I apply the brake, what will happen? Whenever I take a corner, what will happen? This tire is lifted up, or maybe this tire is skidding on the road surface while this tire is moving. There is an imbalanced torque at both these surfaces. See, at this cross section of the shaft, and at this cross section of the shaft, the torque generated are completely different. The torque generated, the imbalance in the torque creates the torsion. This is known as the twisting angle of twist. Got this thing? Now, torsion does not only act on the shaft, torsion can act, or the shear stresses can act in the chassis frame structure also. And this depends on the moment of inertia and area moment of inertia. Right? We will discuss this thing too. Okay, so bending loads and torsion. We have to compensate the bending loads and torsion. That are the forces that are acting on our vehicle. So now, to compensate with the bending loads and torsion, we have to work with the dimension, again a geometrical approach, and the element, the material, the physical properties of the element that we are using to manufacture the chassis frame structure. So let's go with very fast. Let's go with the dimension of the frame. Let's go with the dimension of the frame. Now we have to compensate. We know this thing. We have to compensate the bending loads. We have to compensate the bending loads and we have to compensate the torsion. So whenever you apply the brake, whenever you accelerate a vehicle, bending loads are occurring in your vehicle, right? Whenever you take a corner, bending load as well as the torsion loads are acting on your vehicle. So it means both the loads, the torsional forces and the bending loads are acting on your vehicle. Now what do we have to do? What do we have to do? The first thing is the moment of inertia. To find the exact values of the bending loads and torsion, we will be dealing with this thing too. What are the exact values of the bending loads? Not the exact, but what are the appropriate maximum values of the bending loads and torsion that are acting on the vehicle during the roughest patch possible for an ATV or during the fastest possible corner for a Supra or a go-kart. Right? What are the bending loads and torsion that are acting on the vehicle? We can get a clear-cut idea about this. Later on we will be discussing about this thing. First, let's see what are the factors required to deal with this thing. First, we will get the idea about this thing. Tomorrow, later on in the next video, we will be discussing what are the exact values and what are the appropriate, not the exact, what are the appropriate values of the bending load and torsion that are acting on the vehicle during different conditions, in different conditions. Now, moment of inertia. Area moment of inertia. All the things that you have studied in the very basics of physics, like intermediate physics, in the 12th standard you have studied the physics, the moment of inertia, the area moment of inertia, the polar moment of inertia. Now, have you ever wondered where are you really going to use this thing? Now, this is the time where you are going to use all the basic principles of moment of inertia, area moment of inertia and polar moment of inertia just to design or to get the dimensions of the chassis frame structure. Now what I have witnessed in most of the workshops across India and most of the lectures that are available over the design of the chassis frame structure, I don't know what's wrong with the people out there. They used to, like, it's a very easy thing to do. It's a very easy thing to do, and usually most of us, even I, even we all used to go with the same principle. Ask your driver to be seated, get the basic layout, okay, cool. Got the basic layout, ask the driver, this is the minimum dimensions on which we can work, okay, just work on the clearances done, ergonomics done. So most of the times what we used to do, we used to check for the ergonomics, clearances, and then we get the basic approach. The basic approach or basic layout of the frame, and then we start doing the iteration just on the layout that we have got on the basis of ergonomics and on the basis of clearances. This is what we used to do. This is what we used to do till now. But I believe while learning these things, your approach to deal with the start, the initial stage of the design can change. Yes, this is the constraint on which we have to work. Once you get this constraint, directly don't get into this iteration part. Better if you start working or start pulling off these calculations, these geometrical parts, the moment of inertia, the polar moment of inertia, the area moment of inertia, that will change or that will change your complete parameters of the design. Okay, let's go with this thing very quickly. What do you mean by moment of inertia? What do you mean by moment of inertia, and how does it play a very crucial role in the design of the chassis frame structure? Now we all know this thing. We calculate the moment of inertia rather than going for the inertia. We calculate the moment of inertia. Inertia. Whenever you are moving, I applied the brake. We can see the inertial pull off. I have drawn this figure now. Okay. This force, my vehicle was moving in this direction, I applied the brake. See, you can see the brake, the torque that I have generated, braking torque that I have generated. This is the inertial pull, right? The inertial pull. But what happened? My vehicle pitched down. My vehicle pitched down. Now you can see this thing, action. This is the force that I have applied, and this is the action. What happened? Have my vehicle moved backward? Have my vehicle moved backward? No. I applied the braking torque. Anything that is revolving or anything that is rotating, if you have to stop it, what do you have to do? You have to provide the torque to stop it. You can't provide the force. That force is going to be called as torque. The length of the action, the arm of the action, the length of the arm of the action by which you have applied that force is known as torque. Now, this is the inertial pull that has been generated, right? You can feel you can move backward, but your vehicle won't. Your vehicle won't move back. You can move backward while you were sitting or driving it, right? So this is the inertial pull, and this is the action of the vehicle. This perpendicular is the action of the vehicle. These two together will be creating a movement, a circular motion. You can see a movement. It means this force, this inertia, this inertial force is creating a movement. You got this thing? Is creating a movement in your vehicle, and we have to calculate the moment of inertia of the vehicle. I guess it's a bit of clear. Why do we have to calculate the moment of inertia of the vehicle? Moment of inertia is very important because the inertial forces that have been, not just because of this, what we say, inertial not because of braking, but also because of accelerating. What happens whenever you accelerate? Your rear wheel tries to jump down, like tries to pitch down. It tries to pitch down. What will happen? Like I am accelerating my vehicle, but my vehicle suddenly says, wait. I have to pitch down. I have to move forward, but my vehicle says I won't move forward unless I pitch down. You are getting my point or not? My vehicle, I am participating in a race which involves the variation of fraction, a very minute fraction of second. Like I lost the race to some other person by 0.01 second. By 0.01 second. At that time, I thought, okay, this is my vehicle accelerating and I am just moving. But my vehicle said, wait, first I am pitching down, then you can move. And I lost 0.01 second. In the pitching down, I lost 0.01 second. You got my point? What is actually happening in your vehicle? So now, how can we eradicate this pitching down? This all depends on the stiffness of your chassis frame and also stiffness of the suspension system. Or if in my case I am using a go-kart, I am not having any active suspension system, it means my chassis frame structure is going to act as the suspension system for my vehicle. Anything that suspends the complete articulated objects of the vehicle, ground is known as the suspension system. It means my tires, my chassis frame structure is going to act as the suspension system, my frame structure. So my frame structure should have to be as stiff as possible. And when I talk about the stiffness, I believe you already know about the stiffness. The deformation, resistance to deformation due to bending or due to torsion, it would be stiffness. It would be stiffness. Later on we will get into what is the difference between the geometrical stiffness and the material stiffness and the bending stiffness. Yes. Geometrical stiffness, material stiffness, bending stiffness. All the three types are completely different, though very much related to each other, but are completely different. We will get into this thing. So you got this thing. It's very important to calculate the moment of inertia. It's very important to calculate the moment of inertia. Let me give you a very good example of the moment of inertia. I believe most of you already know about this thing. How to give you the example if I have got anything in my room right now. Just wait for a moment. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm not having anything in my room to give you the example. Though there are so many things, but we have to work on this thing. Okay. If this is the length of bar, you are seeing this thing, a length of bar. Or I would say this is the frame design of my vehicle. Here the front wheels, here the rear wheels are mounted. The rear wheels are mounted here, the front wheels are mounted here. Right? Okay, this is the centroidal location. Centroidal location. So when I apply the brake, what will happen? My vehicle will pitch down. When I accelerated my vehicle, what will happen? The rear part will pitch down. In the braking, the front part will pitch down. In the rear, in the acceleration, the rear part will pitch down. Pitch down. So if my vehicle is having a very high value of moment of inertia, if my vehicle is having a very high value of moment of inertia, and you can see all these things, all these shifts are happening at the position of center of gravity. In this case, let me just take an assumption, the center of gravity is exactly at the center, So I could say all the forces are acting at the center of gravity location, all the movements are acting on the center of gravity location. So when I apply the load, this is what is happening. Or if this is pitching, it means this is rising up. I could say from this position to this position. The longer your vehicle gets to be, moment of inertia is the force that you have applied, or the mass into the action, length of the action, right? This here I have got two masses, one mass here, second mass here, right? I applied a moment in here, or I applied the moment here. See the distance. I applied the moment here, the force here. In your case, this is the vehicle, this is the pitching. Here I want to apply it. The other mass is very far away from here. The reaction in our vehicle occurs because of the tires location. The reaction in our vehicle, if I have to measure the weight of my vehicle, yesterday we have discussed these things. We will measure the weight of our vehicle from the tires. The reaction, the cross reactions are happening at the tires. So if the distance between the center contact patch of these two tires are increased very much, what will happen? The moment of inertia of the vehicle will increase. Moment of inertia is the resistance to any change in direction, or the resistance to any motion of the vehicle. Right? Inertia is the resistance to motion. Moment of inertia is the resistance to angular motion. So what will happen when I applied the brake, or when I accelerated my vehicle? This won't pitch down. It does not dip down. It never dips down. It never dips down. It pitches down. The vehicle pitches down. Never dips down, but it pitches down. It pitches down. So when I increase, like if the length of these two masses are, the weight of my vehicle is 100 kg, right? And my wheelbase, the wheelbase of my vehicle is 10 meters. For some other vehicle, the weight of my vehicle is again 100 kg, but the wheelbase is 20 meters. These are like some of the impractical lengths that I have taken, but no issues. For the reference, it's pretty fine. 10 meters, 20 meters, the weight of two vehicles are absolutely same. What will happen? In this case, the moment of inertia is less in comparison to this case. So whenever I will apply a force F, the pitching moment in this vehicle is higher in comparison to the pitching moment in the second vehicle. In the second vehicle having the longer wheels. So now you can see this thing, all the race cars, they have got very high wheelbases. Or I could say all the race cars are very long. The length of the race cars are very high, because what do we want during acceleration or during braking? We don't want any pitching moment, and to reduce the pitching moment, we have to increase the moment of inertia. Got this point? Okay, you got this point, right? We have to increase the moment of inertia. Now, where comes the role of area moment of inertia, and what do you mean by area moment of inertia? When I consider, these are all the considerations, though these play a very crucial role in designing the chassis frame structure. कितनी देर का हो गया? नहीं बंद नहीं करना, देख के बताना है.
45.
It would be quite boring for the students to see this video now. हाँ जी. Time क्या है? Okay, no problem. So now, what is the role of area moment of inertia? So area moment of inertia is actually the geometrical analysis of the structure. When I consider, like this is I told you, right? We have to consider our vehicle, we have to see our vehicle with the course of mathematics and then with the course of physics. Moment of inertia is the physical property, physics. But area moment of inertia is the mathematical property. When all the forces are acting on the discrete locations of my vehicle. Discrete location. Now at this position, at one of the position my driver is seated, at one of the position the other part is seated, is being mounted, at one of the part the other part is mounted. Now there is a discrete structure. Though we have got a complete chassis frame structure, but the position, the mounting of the weights are discrete, right? There is one basic outline. Very cool. I have got the outline, and then if I connect all the points, with the periphery where the loads are being mounted, the design would be different, right? That outline would be different. Now here comes the role of area moment of inertia, or we can call it the second area moment of inertia. Okay, second moment of inertia, area moment of inertia. So how do we calculate the area moment of inertia? So now, if this is my vehicle, so whenever I am rolling my vehicle, like I am rolling my vehicle, rolling forces, rolling movement that is acting, or whenever I am taking a corner, the forces will act. Like here I have got my steering, here I have got my driver seated, here I have got my engine seated. All the forces are being acted, or I could better say all the forces are acting at the centroidal location or at the center of gravity location. At the centroidal location or at the center of gravity location. Now at the centroidal location, if I consider the centroidal location, I can calculate the right center. Or if I have to consider the center of gravity location, I can consider the location from where all the forces are acting on the lumped mass of my vehicle. You got this thing? Okay. So now we have to discuss about the area moment of inertia. Okay. Shivam, एक बार बंद कर दे, मैं बहुत लंबा